Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be going over the developer Q&A today. That was on today, 11/16, Thursday the 16th, 2 weeks out before the new raid, and they went over some stuff for the patch, but not much of that. A lot of the stuff was for the new expansion, which was kind of cool. I didn't know what they're going to talk about, so as always, I kind of write down notes while I listen to it. It's like an hour long usually, so that's why I try to keep track of the questions a little bit, I guess. But let's go ahead and get started. They asked a question about tier sets going away in the expansion. Will there still be class-themed armor for cosmetic purposes? This is actually something I thought of as well, that I would have asked. So basically, if you don't know, they're getting rid of the tier sets. So you'll no longer have a tier set like a paladin, warrior, mage tier set. There's just going to be armor that drops and weapons, of course, now. So they're basically wanting to know if there'll still be a themed armor for that class. They're going to make armor look like the raid that they obtained in going forward, instead of focusing on unique tier sets that are class specific. So like class fantasy is the words they use. So like paladin being golden armor, big golden armor, and mage armor being like purple robes and stuff like that. So they're talking about a troll dungeon or raid. That's like a troll themed dungeon or raid. And so there'll be cloth troll looking armor, mail troll looking armor, plate troll looking armor. And that's basically, so your armor doesn't matter what class you are or what you wear. Your armor is going to look like the stuff that's in the raid. So if there's a plate wearing troll in a troll raid, you'll probably have armor that kind of looks like his, maybe a little bit cooler with like some effects and stuff. But that's kind of what they're going with that. I kind of like that. I'm not as big. I'm not going to get too far into this, but I'm not as big of a naysayer on the whole removing of class sets. And of course, you can Xmog your old class fantasies if you need to. Will not having tier sets lower participation in raiding is a good question as well. So it's a valid concern. Of course, there will still be, as there always is, unique trinkets that come from raids. There'll also be things on armor that are only obtainable from raids as well. With like the new armor system, I'm assuming. How you can amplify your armor, so maybe it like has certain effect on it, or maybe it has certain stats on it that you can't find anywhere else. It is very needed to have incentives in the raids to keep it interesting, because otherwise, why not just do mythic pluses if there's nothing special you can get? There'll also be probably really cool weapons in the raids as well, I'd imagine. New features in 7.3.5, so this is going to be the patch that comes out that kind of has like the baseline stuff from the new expansion in it. So what you can expect in this patch, they asked for the too long didn't read version. Scaling world, which is whether if you're level 10, you can go level in Red Ridge Mountains. If you're Alliance, if you're level 10, you can go to Desolus. It doesn't matter because the world's going to scale with your level just like it does on the Broken Isles. The Aldor Time Walking is going to be released, so you can do the Aldor raid, similar to how you can do Black Temple raid when that's up. The new BGs will also come out in this patch, although not right away. The new BGs will come out in this patch, though, as they typically do in the final patch before a raid. I don't know if this will be the final patch, but it definitely appears like it might be. There's also be some flavor stuff, and the PTR will be out soon, so everyone will be able to see what's in it. Class identity was huge in Legion. Will there be more race-based things in the expansion? Race meaning, I think they asked the question because of the whole Dark Iron Dwarves and Zandalar Trolls, etc. Will it be more race-based? Not really race-based. It's going to be faction-based, so it's going to be very big on factions, basically. The whole expansion is going to be tied to your faction, Alliance, Horde. There might be a class expansion someday, though, because he thinks it's a really cool idea. Or a class... there might be a race expansion someday, though. He thinks it's a cool idea. So there might be an expansion that each person kind of focuses on their own race. Maybe the wars died down a little bit, and we're all kind of dealing with our own problems. Maybe that'd be kind of cool. What standing we need to unlock the new races? Again, I have a video on... I'm going to be putting out videos on each of the new races. I have the Dark Iron one up now, and I have the Troll one about ready to go up. It might be different based on which race it is, but just about progressing the storyline to show them joining the faction they choose. The example they used were the Nightfallen, the Suramar Elves joining the Horde. You will need to be exalted as of now, but they're going to remove all the gating and stuff in Suramar after the expansion's over, and when the new expansion launches, etc. So you'll be able to just go through and do every quest. You won't have to do them in necessarily that same order in the same annoying order. You might be able to grab all of them at once in a way. Not all of them at once, but kind of get my drift there. Special transmogs for the new allied races. Will they be special armor for the new allied races? Will they be transmoggable? What that means is there's like special armor that you can get for like Dark Iron Dwarves. That's the example they used, or the Zandalar Trolls. Again, those will be the two that I go to, two that I'm most interested in. Basically, when you unlock the Dark Iron Dwarf armor set, if you make another Dark Iron Dwarf, you can immediately transmog into that armor set. But you cannot do it on like a regular dwarf or on a gnome or a tauren or etc. It is only for that race, which is kind of disappointing, but I guess I understand it. Will there be more allied races for the other races, orcs, humans, etc.? Yes, eventually that's what they want to do. But they want to focus on what makes sense story-wise and timeline-wise first, then what classes make sense based on what race given their culture and abilities. Death Knight and Demon Hunter are not currently ever going to be affected or usable in this way based on the way they're doing it now, just because you start off at a high level. Demon Hunters are all L's, for example. Death Knights is just, they were raised by the Lich King, so it's like, whenever you make a new Death Knight now, you got to put yourself back in the timeline of you're with the Lich King. The Lich King just raised you from the dead, right? So it wouldn't really make sense that a Lich King raised a Dark Iron Dwarf that was part of the Alliance, because it just wouldn't make sense back in that time. So I completely understand that. Will other Hunched Overs races get the option of upgrade as well? This is because orcs will be able to stand up straight now. They've always been kind of hunched over. So orcs will be able to stand up straight, and they were also talking about like the trolls, how they're hunched over and whatnot, and Worgen, I believe. The orc was the only one they focused on. Zandalar trolls are upright historically, but other trolls are all historically hunched, so probably no changes there. Again, they're trying to keep it in line with the storyline, which I appreciate. So if they were always hunched over anytime anyone saw them, then that's just the way they're going to be in the game. Of course, you will have the option to be a Zandalari troll now, so if you want to play troll, you can do that, and your orcs will be upright. Worgen, I mean, at least you can technically go human form for a little bit. Will all Zandalari troll druids be based on druid forms be based on dinosaur or just the travel form? This is because it was released that the travel form for a Zandalari troll druid will be a raptor. Just travel form. Otherwise, it's still the normal bear, cat, and elkin. The honor system. Asked about the honor system in the expansion. Grind for honor talents. Well, you have to grind for honor talents. Honor talents exist. They're not going to add more prestige levels on top of the current ones. They're reevaluating the system, but want to make sure the prestige rewards are still available. So any awards that you obtain via prestige, they still want those to be available to players. They are reevaluating it. They said, I'm guessing they're kind of going to scrap it in a way. Maybe make the prestige thing available still. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but it sounds to me like they're going to scrap it, or it's just going to like start over from scratch. And you'll be able to keep your achievement maybe. I have no idea. Or your rewards, etc. I don't know. It sounded like they had no idea what to do with PvP, to be honest. Will artifact skins be locked for spec for Xmog? Yes. So if you're an arms warrior, you can only transmog your arms weapon if you're in arms spec and for that weapon. And if you go out of that spec, it won't have that look anymore. Will there be legendaries in the expansion? That's a good question. There certainly will be less than in Legion, is what the direct answer was. They're thinking to perhaps change it to a classic way, like one legend per raid or two legends total in two raids. So I think Alduar had the mace, for example, and then I think there was one later on. I honestly don't remember. That's just the last one that came to my mind. I know in Miss Pandaria there was one as well that everyone had, even though I didn't play this. In Cataclysm, I know like rogues had like special daggers and stuff. So it's going to be more like that, where it's more rare. Warglaze of Azzinoth, it's another one that comes to mind. Of course, the old ones. Everyone knows the old ones from like Molten Core and everything. But they also said they might not have legendaries at all, so we'll see. Someone asked, can we have 10-man mythic rating? I only include this question because it is something that interests me. I wish we could do this. Even if it was a 10-man and then a 20-man, where the 10-man had less gear or something, just because that would make it more possible to play with just my friends, and that would make them more willing to come back to the game. However, I understand the agency said no. There's no plan to change raid sizes. Managing rosters is difficult. They understand that. But basically, and they had a good reasoning behind this. Um, there used to be 40-man raids and people were stuck. They could only get like 30, 35 people to sign on. Then it went to 25 and they could only get like 20, 24 people to sign on. No matter what size raid you make it, eventually there's going to be guilds in a problem area of not being able to have enough people because it's just what happens. Eventually, 3 or 4 people all quit WoW at the same time, and you don't have the backups. No matter how big the raid size is, you're only going to have a couple backups because not a bunch of people just want to sit on the bench. So you're always going to have problems with it just because of bad luck. They are thinking, however, basically open up cross-server Mythic sooner, so that way you can pug easier. Basically, after maybe like the world first and server first are done, maybe then open it up and not waiting for the next raid. They asked about the difficulty of Mythic to Mr. Argyris compared to Antorus. He said it was way too difficult for Mythic on Mythic TOS. Heroic and Normal seemed to be fine. Antorus should be slightly easier. Basically, I can shorten this up by saying they didn't like how many mechanics, especially in the final few bosses of TOS, that just wiped the entire raid if one person messed up. It's fine to have a mechanic like that on every boss, but when you have multiple mechanics like that on every boss, it becomes an issue. A good example was being 4 minutes into a raid, everyone's doing everything perfectly, and a guy who never messes up just has his first brain fart, and you die, and you don't kill the boss. Now, some people are purists and they'll say, well, too bad, that guy shouldn't have messed up. But it can be a little much if there's 3 different mechanics that can all wipe the raid, and you have all good raiders, and it's just things happen. They really do, and I understand maybe not for the very, very top 0.1%, but for everyone else, things happen. Will there be another increase to Mythic Plus cap like every other raid? Yes. Mythic Plus will continue to lockstep with progression rating. Plus 15 Mythic Plus will be Mythic and Taurus loot, so that'll be the thing. Just do your plus 15 like always, and you'll get a piece of Mythic loot or Mythic quality loot. Will Titan Forging allow you to get Mythic gear from normal raids in the new expansion? This is a big thing among some of the more elitist Mythic raiders. They don't like that people who don't raid their content can have similar items to them or even sometimes a better item than them. Yes, they plan on carrying forward the Titan Forging and War Forging system. The Mythic Raider is always geared better than the Heroic Raider or Normal Raider. Even if you got super lucky in Titan Forging a few times, they might lower the chance of Titan Forge though because of other reasons, because people are running like Normal still to farm Normal and try to get Titan Forges. Will killing World PvP with xpac? Well, why killing the World PvP and xpac about factions? So if you don't know, in this expansion, you'll be able to turn off your flag for PvP wherever you are, even if you're on a PvP server, or if you are on a PvP server, I should say. He doesn't say they're killing it, they're hopefully revitalizing. He says, creating a space for players looking for world PvP run into each other. Those who don't will not. It's an interesting thought, but I've seen very compelling arguments on the other side of this. I would have to think about it more, but right now I'm on the side of it is kind of killing world PvP. Raiding capital cities is interesting. It's something I've never actually killed all the capital cities before. It's something they talked about to make happen more like back in the day. So basically, should there be more rewards for killing a capital city? And perhaps. Probably not, though, based on the way he is. Basically, it's a good idea, but I doubt they're going to do it. Is there going to be class changes in the expansion similar to Legion? In Legion, well, not similar to Legion, but unsimilar to Legion, because in Legion, everything was changed over. Obviously, we lost a bunch of abilities, we gained new abilities, all of our talents were kind of changed, and we had to kind of learn to play our characters over again, in some ways at least. They'll have a lot more to share on this coming up than he had right now. There's going to be fewer class changes in Legion, obviously, but there still will be some. The changes will be around things that didn't work out very well in Legion. They won't fix things that aren't broken. Some things that he specifically pointed out were demon locks and survival hunters, fixing dead talents that aren't ever used based upon their data. I'm sure they're going to do something with Ret too, because I've seen them talk about that before, which is what I play right now. With the return of raid buffs, will we see utility roles put back into the game? The example they tried to use was Ret Paladin, but there's way better utility things than that, because Ret's still kind of utility with Wisdom and Kings and Bop, so there's still kind of utility. That's the goal, not just for raids, but dungeons and other scenarios as well. That's kind of the whole point of putting these some of these buffs back in, is to make make certain classes more utility. So even when they're not super strong, DPS wise or healing wise, etc., maybe they're really nice to have for another reason. Will there be world class in old zones? This is kind of a cool idea. The tech is in place, so it is possible. It's something that they're definitely thinking about doing. It depends if it makes sense to do with the storyline, everything like that. They kind of use the example of could there be world class in Desolace? Yeah, there could. They have the tech to do it now, like it's already in place. So they could put world class in Desolace or any other zone you want to name their barons, etc. That's kind of something that I would like to see. I think what they worry about, to kind of riff on this for a second, I think they worry about if they put world quest in a bunch of different zones, the completionist people are going to want to do every single world quest in every single zone, and it could be very overwhelming. I got overwhelmed by all the daily quests in Pandaria, for example, because I felt like I had to do all of them all the time. And while I wouldn't do that now with the world quest where I'm at in my life, I could see other people doing that. They asked about weapon drops in the expansion. They're going back to a more classic style, but there are more ways to get loot now than back in the day, so you should be able to get a good weapon easier than you could back in the day. Back in the day, and this is the phrase they're using back in the day, you might have one weapon you want from an entire raid. Now you'll have that weapon and maybe 2 to 3 from Mythic Plus, for example, and they might even throw another weapon in the raid that you might want. So they're very cognizant of the fact that back in the day, you might have had one weapon that you needed and it just never dropped for you, or you were like third in line to get it in your guild and it just never dropped 3 times, etc. So they're going to make sure that there's comparable weapons in Mythic Plus, maybe not quite as good, but something that you won't feel bad about, and possibly having more than one weapon good for each class and spec in the raid. They asked about the fishing legendary. I only put this in because I've seen somebody post about this on the forums. They are planning on carrying forward the fishing legendary, unlike the other artifacts, because it doesn't give you any throughput bonuses or anything like that. And then they asked about the character server limit and character account limit. I didn't really understand it fully. There's a reason for there's a character limit on the account. It's because otherwise you'd have people that just make like 10,000 characters for no reason. What he said though, he said if there was enough people that could produce evidence that they have 50 characters that they play on regularly, so probably like 50 110s that you do world quests on regularly, then maybe they would think about it if there's enough people. But I'm guessing that's probably enough people, a small enough amount of people that I could probably fit in my house that I have that and do that. That's about it. It's a really interesting Q&A because I talked so much about the expansion. Sorry this is so long. I didn't plan on it to be quite this long, but their thing was an hour and 10 minutes, so it's going to take a while to recap it. As always, everybody have a good one. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Thumbs up and sub as always. Also comment below, share the videos. Appreciate it so much. You can also check me out at Twitter at WoW-Gaming Inc. and at Twitch with the tag name KneecapKilla. So everyone have a good one and see you again soon.